today we're going to be discussing women's position in the ICT sector, the intersection of sexual and gender-based violence and the tech culture, and also the intersection of power play, gender inequality, and inclusion. So, just straight up to my panelists, this question goes to everyone. What are the major causes of power play and gender inequality balance in the tech place? Kachi, do you want to start with that?
On. Okay, can you hear me? Hi, good day. Um, I think I would start with society. You know, that's where I would mount my tent. Society in Nigeria currently, we don't have a lot of children, female children, having the idea of becoming medical doctors. Most of them want to be actresses, makeup artists, which is not wrong, but I would say that we did not, as growing up as children, were not our ideas were not broadened. We had an idea that there are stops for guys, there are stops for ladies. You can't come up as a lady and say you want to be a farmer. You can't come up as a lady and you say you want to be. There are certain things they expect you as a woman growing up to be, and being in the tech space or going to science class in quote was not it. So yeah, I think the society was the bedrock for us.
All right, thank you very much, Kachi. So conditioning, societal conditioning,
Yeah,
the things we allow our boys and our girls have access to.
true.
Dr. Kede, do you agree with that? What do you think are the major causes of power play and gender imbalance in the tech space?
Yeah, I'll just tie into what she said very much because stereotypes tend to it plays a huge role in what we see and what is ingrained in our minds as humans. Because I can clearly remember that growing up as a child, I think the main reason why I wanted to become a doctor was because I kept seeing Prof. Dora Akunyili on TV and I loved her. And I said I wanted to be like this at some time in the future. So I think that particularly for the tech space, we do not have enough female role models. And where there are female role models, their work is not being amplified enough for the younger generations to see that I can aspire to be a software developer. I can say I want to be a data scientist. We're still stereotyping women some sort into some kind of roles. Now you can say that, okay, when you go to a medical school, you might see quite a number of females. I say for my set in medical school, we were probably a 60-40, 60 being guys and 40 being females, which was not very bad, considering that if you were to look at 20, 30, 50 years ago, you probably might not see more than 3 women in medical school. And there was some points in history where women were not even allowed to be doctors at all.
Yeah.
Yes. So we need to amplify this work more. We need to let young girls know that you can do it. I mean, you can practically be anything. So I very much agree with what she said.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kede. Damilola, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think the way things are right now in terms of gender equality in the tech space. Oh, sorry. I think it's a reflection of our society about what we think women should do and what we think men should do. And I always say that because people will say there are things that are meant for men and there are things that are meant for women. But if you bring it back, you see that when there's a value attached to something, it's mostly attached to men. Because even if you say, oh, some roles are left for women, if you take it out of the tech space and you bring it into the society, you will see that in the culinary industry, men are the top chef, and cooking is something you tend to say is for women. But why is it that men are dominating? It just means that when value or prestige is attached to something, the gender that we attach to it is men.
Thank you very much for that. I actually do agree, and I also agree with Dr. Kade that the more we spotlight women in tech, then we have hope for the incoming generation to pursue whatever it is they want. Joyce, we are yet to hear from you. Do you have anything to add to that question?
I mean, very much that the fact that children, young in age, they are not encouraged to pursue careers in tech, and even when they show interest, they are shut down sometimes, or they are not pushed as much as them. think that
All right, thank you very much. Just an FYI, you are not loud enough, so you need to when you're speaking, you need to move very, very close to the mic. Thanks very much. So I do agree with that, and it's something that we've seen. There was one time I was arguing with my colleagues, and they're like, "Oh, we're stopping women from, joining tech now. Everyone has resources." And then I just asked them a simple question. I'm like, "Okay, so you're at home, you're a guy. You how many household chores do you have?" Right? So you have all the free time. If you tell your parents today and like, oh, I want to study my course, I want to do everything, they're like, oh, go, go, go. But if a girl comes, they'll first tell her, you've not finished washing the plates, you haven't cooked. She has like so much more emotional. So even that impedes her. Like, we will make faster progress here. So now takes us to women's access to the internet and ownership of digital devices. Remains significantly lower, and it's so funny because women are also earned, although not as much as men. A lot of us now trying to up our earnings in the world. I mean, everyone like is maybe before when they're like a lot of people can be housewives. I think that has even changed. A lot of couples now, women, everyone is pulling their weight in terms of financial contribution in the household. Yet, women have less access. We even have situations where some people have to take permission from their maybe partner to have phones or to access the internet. What can be done? Like, what can we need more women to have tools, right, to access the internet, to access these resources that would help them upskill. So, what can be done differently? Damilola, do you want to take this?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that we all need to invest in women because access to any resources for you to for an input is an ROI, and I think we're not investing in women enough. I'm going to bring you back to the inception of internet here in Nigeria. When we had access to internet first, you will see that most of the people you see at cyber cafes were men. And if you're a girl at a cyber cafe, like what were you doing there? You'll be chastised. You'll be like, you're not supposed to be there. And even in my own family, when we had a computer in my house, though my parents were not very gender biased like that, my siblings were mostly playing game. And I think for me, my dad was like, oh, you're just going to do Marvis Bacon. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm very, very fast at typing now, because I had access to that. So I think we need to invest in women. We need to ensure that even at the grassroots, when computer sciences schools, even if you go to school, public or private, and they only have access to 10 computers, the boys will be given access first. Only the exceptional girls will be allowed to use those things. I think the basic to know that we need to invest in everyone, regardless of their gender. And because we already have a gap, it means that we need to give a start for women to have access to this thing. There's still like poverty levels. So access to like mobile internet, access to like a digital phone, is still things like poverty level will affect people in an household to have. That means like we need more organizations that are dedicated to women having access to this thing. We need more community-based environment where people can go to. One of the things when I grew up, when I watched movies from like the Western movies, is like I always like all these community centers where you had access to book, access to art, access to a computer. But we don't have that here. I is if we have community that are based to care for people, young girls, because the thing you have to start from the grassroots. If we have people and organizations based that are dedicated to those things, I think that we will have more women having access to resources and having access to the internet and also having access to the world.
Thank you very much, Damlola. I do agree. I actually believe that tech is gendered in a way. I mean, if you look at even the way technological products are advertised, the idea of man caves, when they're talking about system, you have Alienware. It is so gendered. It's so manly. Right, it's expected that as a man, it's fine. You can have 10 computers and everything. As a woman, oh, just have one phone, and you're good, right? So I really hope we are looking into ways in which we can fix this. So this goes to Dr. Katie and Kachi. Do you think our society plays a role in aiding power play in the tech space?
Definitely does. Um, you already mentioned the stereotypes that surround this and how even gender roles and chores in the home impedes the progress of the younger girls who are showing interest in participating in tech related roles. And this also plays out in schools, like you mentioned about access to computers. There's a lot about access and a lot about sensitization, and we need to focus more on that because you will notice that most when we were in primary schools, not a lot of people knew what they wanted to do, but you see situations where an organization comes or some company comes and tells you, oh, we do this, we do that, and they bring someone here and say, oh, if you work hard and you do this and you do that, you could be like this person in 10, 15 years. So we need to ensure that more young girls are being exposed to the possibilities that are available to them because a lot of them are not aware of this. And then, in addition to the access and availability, the organizations that are already doing this need to, there's a gender gap already, you mentioned. With statistics that we have at the moment, it will take about 32 years for that gender gap to be covered. So you can imagine how long we have to ensure that women come up the scale in tech-related roles. So we need to focus on closing that gap, ensuring that we are bringing in enough girls into the tech space. And even when they are brought into the tech space, let's not hamper their progress. You go to some organizations that are working in the digital and technology sector, and you see that the more I like to use the word administrative roles are given to the women, and then the men are the ones who are coding. And but it's not like we don't have women who have these skills. It's not like we don't have women who have this knowledge and training. They are available. They are there. But organizations may not be as willing to take women up on these roles as opposed to taking up guys. So we need to be very intentional about closing this gender gap. That is one of the ways where we can ensure that we're doing work to bring more women into the tech space.
Thank you very much, Dr. Katie. How about you, Kachi? Do you
Okay.
think, yeah, our society plays a role in aiding power play in the tech space?
Okay. There's something pressing in my heart I would like to address, and that's what she said earlier. Um, if you are born in Nigeria, you would know that Nigeria offers you little or nothing, and then you have to take it. Most of us in tech, females in tech, we took it and we took it by force. So you don't expect the government to bring everything to your doorstep. So your mental model as a lady, it has to shift. You have to want to be better. You have to want to make a difference. There are people pulling out boot camps, free trainings. I can remember when I got my first laptop, I was coding and then I cried to get it. It wasn't that, I could not do another thing. I could probably, people buy wigs of 100 and something thousand and you cannot buy a laptop. So it's where your heart is. It's your I'm not trying to, change everything. I'm only saying the first step is what is that person's mental model? When we all started tech, we substituted tech for every other thing. We did not care what we were eating, we did not care how we were looking, and most of them, thank you, most of them just see us now, we're probably driving a car, having boot camps, doing well, and they all want to go from 0 to 100. It doesn't work like that. You have to learn it. And learning, you have to deprive yourself of so many things. Now over to our society, wanting to, just like I said,
the role.
the role. It plays, like the first thing I said earlier, it plays a very big role. So the letter I would send will be to our parents, the ones training our nephews, younger children. Let them grow the right way, broaden their ideas. I saw something on Instagram the other time where this man has a 2-year-old daughter and he's already training her to be a gymnast. 2-year-old, like why are you stressed? In Nigeria, you want to kill my child? 2-year-old, what does she know? And then you can find out that that lady might get to 15 years and she'll tell her dad that I don't want to do it, and he would not kill her. But as having a mother as a lawyer, you don't want to be a lawyer. Are you joking? So our society should just chill. Our parents should just chill. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, Kachi. So yeah, society does play a role in aiding power play in the tech space. Several research has shown, even in terms of in recruiting, the scrutiny, like when women are even trying to negotiate higher pay, they are punished in court. Like a lot of times, the offers are rescinded. Where maybe when it comes to the men, they are either like able to negotiate properly with them. We also have the situation where even women in the tech space, like Dr. Katie said, are relegated to more admin roles. But often than that, they are also kind of like made the mommy. Even if you can both code, if you're having a meeting, most of the time the woman is told, okay, you can take the notes or giving some petty, right, that everyone can take, but you just move it to you. So everyone, we just really need to adjust our mindset. So yes, society does play a role in aiding power play in the tech space. Now, so far, what would you say has been put in place or done to help fight against this inequality? We've established that there's inequality in the tech space in Nigeria. How can we end the power play and gender imbalance in the tech space? Joyce, can you please take that? Thank you.
Yes, I mean, I'm actually a product of having something in place. So I started my software development career because a CEO decided to provide a hackathon, or only female hackathon, and through there I was able to get in as an intern. So hackathons, boot camps, training the employees, especially the females, on things that the company knows they are lacking. All those things that are in place and also need to be put in place in case they are not there, to help encourage female participation in tech.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, we do see a lot of hackathons and boot camps, like you said. Like I've seen quite a number of programs geared towards getting more women in tech and upskilling them. Dr. Kade, do you want to contribute to this question? Should I take it or you get it?
I'll just add to what she has said. There are quite a number of hackathons and boot camps, organizations that offer scholarships, tech-related scholarships for females who are interested in getting into the tech space. But I'm still going to hammer on the fact that we're not sensitizing enough, because a lot of these boot camps exist, a lot of these hackathons exist, and only women who are lucky enough to either see this on social media or be in a group where this link is shared are able to take advantage of it. So what are we doing for the younger girls who are in secondary schools, who don't have phones, the ones who maybe live in the village and have the intentions to be in the tech space, but do not have the opportunity to see these opportunities when they come up? So we need to do more with information and sensitization, especially for the populations that will usually not be reached by this kind of services. We need to bring that information home to them as well.
Thank you very much. And that just reminds me of what you said about even seeing role models, because I even think for some women that are maybe privy to these hackathons and these events, they maybe because they've not even seen other women like themselves, right? A lot of people are not even thinking, because like you said, there's conditioning, right? You growing up, you've been conditioned to like, oh, anything tech, all of that is for men, it's a man's world, right? You're not seeing the possibility that you can also excel in it as a woman. Right, so there's also that we need to spotlight more women in tech. I think organizations do have a role to play in ensuring that true diversity does exist. You calling roles out. I've seen some job roles where they specify that they want to hire women. Yeah, sure, please.
Okay, so I was involved in a process, and we're interviewing a lady for a UX role, and the CTO said, so are you ready to take up the job? Fine. It was on a Thursday. Are you ready to come up, to work on Monday? And she said no. And we're like, oh, why? She said because her period falls on Monday, so we would have to give her 1 week. And then the CTO said, so does it mean that every month you take out 1 week? That's why most times. So,
Well, I actually agree with her.
I agree with her, but there's something called working remotely. There's something called taking responsibilities. The reason why most men, I'm speaking for us and with us, yeah, but the reason why most men would not want to give ladies roles, which is not right, to get me, which is not right, is that they feel, our emotional part makes us, make too many excuses.
I think the problem is that men are even the ones giving out the roles in the first
we're not
place.
even talking emotions at this point. This is someone who's talking about her period.
Yes,
she doesn't get a say in whether or not her period comes or not. It is biological. It happens whether or not she wants it to come. And you cannot speak for her knowing you do not know what her period is like.
Yeah.
Women go through all kinds. I mean, there are women who have lived with pain during their periods for all their menstruating years. I mean, if you started menstruating at 13, you will always have menstrual cramps, whether it's for 3 days, 5 days. And you can't blame them if they are either unavailable or they are less productive during those days because you do not know the kind of pain they are going through. So while I understand, well, short notice, first of all, Thursday to Monday, she may not be able to resume on Monday, but you have to put into perspective the fact that she may not want to resume on Monday because it's either she has maybe premenstrual syndrome, she's moody, she has pain, she has cramps, she has a heavy period, she doesn't want to come changing in the office 5 times. She can work remotely, but she has a lot to deal with.
I agree with you. Yeah, but all I'm saying is these CTOs, hiring managers, should put this in place. That these women, we might not be available 30 days,
which is a fair thing. Yeah?
which is a fair thing. So if we are sensitizing people, we should sensitize CTOs, male CTOs, to understand, because this is one reason why a CTO will tell you that he would not employ a woman. And that's why we are lacking. So if he is sensitized to the point to know that, we cannot be, some ladies are German, they can be available anytime, while some are fragile, and we understand we can be fragile. I can be fragile, but they don't understand it. So that is where the sensitization comes, like what you were saying, where it comes in place that we have to sensitize, not just ourselves, the hiring managers.
Yeah. And I also think that another thing we want to look at is we also need to get women in decision making
Absolutely.
positions. Because
Absolutely.
see, if you are in a company where maybe you have two CTOs, I don't know, like, or three, if one of them is a woman, she's able to advocate
Understand.
more,
Yes.
right? You're able to put them like, okay, like, why don't we make this? I think this would be a better working culture and environment.
Exactly.
And it's part of what we're talking here,
It's
right?
exactly part of it.
The power or gender play where the people making the decisions are the men. Women are restricted from having access. You're trying to give someone a promotion. But people will think they'll be like, oh, she'll get pregnant, and as such, you give maybe a counterpart that doesn't even have as much skills, years of experience over them, and then that person goes makes more decisions that does what cuts access to more women to get there. So it's all intertwined, basically. It's all intertwined. So organizations, do ensure your hiring is more diverse, and more importantly, that it is humane and inclusive. Now, to Damilola, what challenges do women face in male-dominated tech field? If I start, please, Damilola.
I'm gonna go back to where she started. I
Please,
think
can you move close to
we
your mic?
need to first understand that biologically we're wired differently.
True.
And we have to put that in place. Sheryl Sandberg was CEO of Meta. She still is. And during when she was pregnant, Facebook put things in place for her to be available for all the meetings, for her to be able to be in all this decision making. If you truly know that this person is important to your team, you will make room for them.
Sure.
Yep. The chief marketing officer of Netflix as a child, Netflix pays for a nanny to travel with her and abuse because they know that they need her and she has something to add to the company. If you know that this person, you want them on your team and you're truly about that, and you're not, even if you have to think of the cost of all these extra things, but you have to understand that they deserve it and they have input to add to your company. So we have to put all this thing in place. Like, one, I need to take days off. I'm going to know that for my own health, personal care. We already know how this thing works. So I feel like we make all the excuses for men to get away with things because we already know that women are going to be on the period. We already know that women are going to get pregnant if they want to get pregnant. Why are we not putting this in place? So I feel like when we make all these excuses, we're just also feeding into the stereotypes and into the biases that are already there already. A woman is always going to get a period every month unless she has PCOS. So why are we always saying, oh, this is why we don't want to do all these things? I also think that bringing it back into also we need access to money. Women need access to money. Last year, in terms of VC funds, women-led startups raised $286 million. Men-led startup raised $4 billion. Look at the large difference. Women need access to funds for them to also build their business. Also, it's even noticed that women, let's start. If you want to get money, as with VCs, YC, even if you're a woman, you have to have a male co-founder. Why? Why do so? If you're two women, you have to have a male co-founder, even if he's not doing anything or adding any value to the business. You just need them to be in a place to get money, because research has shown that female-led CEOs don't get access to funds. These are the things that need to change to understand that we need more money. And we've seen that here in Nigeria, we have, I can probably see of many female CEOs who are doing well. We have Damilola of Shotlas, we have Fola Yemi of Teas. These women are doing well, they're getting, and they also just recently raised funds. So I feel like women need more access to money. We also need to be in the decision-making table, so that we're also able to advocate for ourselves and advocate for younger people. Also, we need to also put, because when there was a research done last year that showed that with remote work, there was a less in sexual harassment and in the way women were interacting more. So even now that people are coming back to the office, this hybrid situation, we have to put things in place for sexual harassment and the way men relate to women in the workplaces. I know, like, to be honest, there's a way men move in the world. It's very deep. They move differently in the world. And things are very sensitive to women that they might not know. They just, it's a sexual harassment policy.
Nothing.
It's moot. But everybody will come on social media and start putting gender bias together forever. But you're not break the bias, but you're not putting anything in place to help women. And it's very, very sad, because you see all these things are the things that are making women not making women very eager to join all these forces or to do more. So yeah, that's why I want.
Thank you very much, Damilola. I'm glad you added that, but like the question remains unanswered. What challenges do women face? I feel like you touched on it, but if we could just itemize, what challenges do women face in male-dominated the tech industry? Yeah.
I think they also face the fact that their voice is not heard. It's a lot of man explaining. If you're in a meeting with men, you say one thing, a man comes and say the same thing over, and everyone's like, "Oh,
Yes,
that's
it.
We need to understand that women have a voice and they have things to say, and they're smart. Women are fucking smart. So I feel like we need to give room for, sorry for that language, but I feel like we need to give room for women to talk, not talk over them, give them reason for their voice to be heard. Another challenge women face also is that when it comes to like promotion, women are not always being promoted.
True.
You know, we're always going for the charismatic male, the one that can swell with the voices, and we just feel like women should just like, oh, you're anywhere already. Why do you need a promotion? Let's just give it to the man that can be the face of the company, or you can sway in investors. We need to believe women more. So I feel like everyone knows the challenges we face already. The problem is, what are we doing to make it better? We already know the challenges that we face. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Amlada. Joy, do you want to add anything to challenges that women face in male-dominated tech field? Like,
Yeah, I mean, Damila has said most of it, but I do think that we are struggling, both the male and the female, we are struggling to balance the dichotomy of the home and the office. So a woman is brought up, is socialized to be less assertive, to not assert themselves. So how do you flip that when you get to the office, where you are expected to assert your opinion, to not allow someone else? I mean, in the office, you have to say what you know. You have to bring out yourself. You don't have to just follow a lead. So how do you balance that? I think I during the course of my career, I've seen women have issues at that, not knowing when to be assertive, because they have always been expected to not be assertive. And especially in tech, where it's not about your certificates, but more about your experience, more about what you are bringing in. People are going to respect you based on what you are bringing out, not just what you already have. So it becomes difficult for women to know how to balance that. Can actually give an experience when I was in my former place of work. We had some debates. It was quite a funny environment where we were always challenging ourselves. So this day, we had this debate where we are talking about maybe one concept, and I was insisting that this is the right one. And the leader of the group, because he knows most of that concept, most of the things around that concept. So everybody respected him on that. And I was challenging him and trying to say, no, this is this. And he took it upon himself to go and read up on that. And the next day, he came back and said, yes, what you said was actually true. And all of us have been waiting for that time when he will either prove me wrong or right. And as soon as he came back and said, yes, I was wrong, they heard me. And the funny thing is that they said, I am now the man, the leader. And I immediately stood up against that language. I'm still the woman. I'm still a woman. Because I knew this doesn't mean my. So they can't just think about you being right or doing the right thing as a woman. They have to flip it for it to make sense in their world. So these are the challenges that we face every day. You have to kind of come into a kind of something that is almost like built on concrete, that is already settled. So you are coming in as a woman to say, I this is what I'm bringing, this is who I am. It's difficult to for someone that has already made up their mind to flip that and think in the other way. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Joy, and for that one. Clear experience. So I just want to add, like speaking of challenges, and I know Damilola touched on workplace sexual harassment, but yeah, so sexual harassment, sexual impropriety are major challenges that women face in male-dominated tech space. Between 2020 and 2021, we at Stand to End Rape, we actually ran a survey on workplace sexual harassment in Nigeria, and the figures, the results that we got were I wouldn't even say surprising because we do know that Nigeria has, an endemic of sexual harassment. Like Nigeria is a cesspool of rape culture. But despite that, it was still very, very disheartening. A number, quite like a large number of the respondents were women, and almost 90%, if not, had experienced sexual harassment in the workplace. Like, how are you meant to concentrate, right? If where you're meant to do your best work is not even conducive. So, workplace sexual harassment is another challenge that women face. And this is just a plea to everyone here, male, women, please make everywhere safer, especially the workplace, because that's where people are going through pressure. You have deadlines, you're trying to do your best. Okay, this is where you work and this is where you come every day. So do make everywhere safer. Do not make inappropriate comments about bodies, about clothes. Do not make sexual remarks, except if encouraged. I don't know. That is another thing. And most importantly, keep your hands to yourself. And moving on to the next question. What are the opportunities to improve on gender equality and inclusion for women in the tech space? I'm going to start with you, Dr. Kede. What are the opportunities to improve on gender equality and inclusion for women in the tech space? Tech space.
So if you look at the major reasons why women are why there's such a huge gender gap in the tech space, one of the first reasons that was listed was online harassment. And so a lot of women are staying away from the internet and staying away from social media to protect their sanity, keep their mental health in check, and just be safe. Because if you look at the statistics of women who have been stalked, harassed, pictures of them put on the internet, threatened with physical or sexual violence, the rates are staggering. So you have a crop of women who are choosing to stay away and do roles that do not have any intersection with the digital space or with technology, because they would rather, you're already dealing with in-person violence. Why do I have to add violence on the internet or on the cyberspace to that? So that already takes out a good percentage of women who would have been involved in technology, and we need to ensure that the digital space is safe and inclusive, because it has been shown that, with COVID-19 and how we had to work from home, and a lot of offices discovered that a lot of the things you do in the office can be done as long as you have an internet connection and you have a way to reach your colleagues. Yes, so almost 90% of jobs at the moment have a digital component. You can work remotely and all. So in the coming years, there will be a need for digital roles to be had. So if we are already if by the way the cyberspace is now, women are staying away because they do not want to be harassed or they don't want to experience violence on the cyberspace, so we're taking out a good chunk of women from acquiring these digital skills that will prove useful to them in the future. Because when 90% of jobs become digital based jobs, what are they going to do? Look for roles that are physical or in person. It may not necessarily work like that. So we have to ensure that the cyberspace is safe and it's inclusive so that women feel safe enough to work in these roles. And then we have to reach out to the younger generation. But the women who are already in the tech space at the moment need to do a good job of presenting themselves as role models for the younger generation to see and aspire towards, because we need to amplify the work of these women who are in the tech space. You already mentioned it is already seen as a masculine space. So you hear tech bro grammar. It now had to become a case of, okay, there's something like women in tech, girls who code, tech hard, all those things, to show women that, yeah, it's not a male or a masculine skill. You can learn it irrespective of your gender. So we have to do a good job of bringing role models for the younger generations to see and take an example of. We have to sensitize the younger girls as well, because if we plan to close this gender gap, we need to ensure that in addition to the women who are in the tech space already, we are building a budding crop of younger girls who are willing to take up spaces in digital and technology space.
Thank you very much for that. I do agree. Joyce?
Sorry, could you
Yeah,
repeat?
so what are the opportunities to improve on gender equality and inclusion for women in the tech space? What are
Yeah, I mean, role model, we can't really overestimate the importance of it. I remember attending a conference last year, where before then, I and my colleague were asking ourselves what we want to do when we are 40. Do we want to actively code? And that was because we didn't have any role model around us or people at that age coding until we saw this woman from Amazon who was actively coding at maybe 50 something years. So it immediately reset our brains and as to what is possible. So I think encouraging younger women to see that this is a viable career for them to pursue, and helping them in any way possible to achieve that, because it can be quite intimidating. Helping them through setting up coaching. I mean, that's mentorship. Those things helps a lot to bring these young women up.
Thank you very much, Joyce. Kachi, do you want to go? What are the opportunities to improve on gender equality and inclusion for women in the tech space?
I think I'll just stand on sensitization, because everything works on that. I'll mount my fence there.
All right.
Sensitization.
Thank you, Damilola. How about you?
I think for me, it's for companies and businesses to be intentional about hiring more women. You need to take a stock of what is the percentage of men and women in my businesses. Tell your hiring manager, your HR, we need this percentage of women, and be very strict with it. Because this is one of the conversations we had. If you have like your hiring men and women, put a band of how much you want to pay them, because there was when we talk to hiring managers about how men and women negotiate when they're coming into the workspace, you see that men will come for have 1 year or two experience and they're asking for 1 million naira. And a woman with like 5 years experience, like, oh, if you give me like 500K, I'm okay with that. But if your company is very intentional about that, you put this band and you say we want so and so amount of women in our organization. We can see that Kuda Bank did something like that last year when they put an internship up, and it was strictly for women. There was an outcry on it on social media because people said they were being biased because they wanted women only. So we also need organizations to be fair, because the gap is already there. You hardly find a company that doesn't have more men than more women in their organization. Yeah, so a tech company. So you have to the owners of the business, the CEO, the CTO, and the hiring managers, they have to be intentional about hiring more women into that, because even if you have all these skills, you need to put it to work, and it's working that you gain meaningful experience and you close that gap. So I think business is being intentional about hiring more women.
Thank you very much. So, businesses being intentional, sensitization, role models, mentorship, coaching are some of the opportunities that we can use and to improve gender inclusion and equality for women in the tech space. And here, do you have any parting words? final words, anything. We've come to the end of the panel.
I
Okay.
think one of the things I also want to add is to put is when women we need to speak up for ourselves. There are women doing great things, but they're always very shy to speak. And there's power in our story. Our story is what brings us together. Our story is what uplifts other people around us. Even if you're an avid Twitter user, you see like the tech bros, they're always shouting. They're always saying, we did this, we did that. Even if most of them is clouds. And you see women that are pulling big money, doing great things, and they're just like, you're not talking. Their businesses is because I work in the tech space and I see and I work with a lot of female founders and VCs. And you see they're pulling in money, they're pulling in good revenues. I'm like, why are you not making noise about this? Why are you keeping this quiet? And you see businesses that have not broken even and they're shouting, but they're getting VC money because they're loud about their business. I feel like women should speak up more about not just the bad, but also the good of what they are doing. Because women are doing great things, and you have, and even about role models, I don't even think we're short of role models. There are big female role models right now in the tech space. You have the CEO of YouTube, you have the CEO of Bumble, even here you have Funke, the CEO of May One. You have all these women that are doing good things. I don't think we're even short of role model. You have the CEO of SpaceX. So women are doing great things. We just need to speak and even more visibility. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any other person? Nothing.
Well, it's pretty much tied to what she said. But we need to amplify our work more. I tell people that you could be doing an amazing thing, and because you did not put it out there, nobody knows what you are doing. But you are doing an amazing thing. So while we know that a lot of women have been groomed to be passive and be humble and be, yes, humble in quotes, but you need to loud it. So amplify your work. If it needs you putting it on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, talk about the things that you are doing, because that's the only way people will see that you are actually doing something, and it wouldn't be known to just you and your family members and your friends.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Okay, I think I would want to say that they should fight for it, because, like we have said it, yeah, it's not just happening in my company, it's not just happening in her company, it's happening everywhere. So wherever you are, you have to be a voice and you have to take it by force. So you can't just wait and expect one of your boss to get the memo. You have to tell him the memo. Like you have to just tell him. So you have to take it. That's all.
Thank you. Any takers?
Yeah, I want to speak directly to fellow women. I would say that tech might look intimidating from the outside, but believe me, if you get past the jargons, there is nothing to worry about, and there is nothing too difficult in it.
Thank you very much for that wonderful submission. And I will be rounding up. Again, I work with Stand to End Rape. So our main focus is to ensure a future where rape is no longer a part of our everyday life and experience. So I will, of course, be ending this once again, appealing to everyone. If you go back to work, I don't know what you're doing after today, ask your HR, do you have a workplace sexual harassment policy? Right? Just ask. If you don't, you can reach out to us, standtoendrape.org.